Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order then today, Thursday, May 28th, 2020 at 4 o'clock. We will just real quickly salute the flag. Mr. Lynch, would you like to start that? Go ahead.
I pledge allegiance
to
the flag
of the United States of
America,
to the
and
republic
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with
liberty,
and
justice
justice
for all.
Thank you. Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in the entrance hall of the Beach Haven Municipal Building and mailing the same to the Beach Haven Times, the Asbury Park Press, and the Press of Atlantic City. Mr. Allen.
Here.
Mrs. Baumiller.
Here.
Mr. Lynch.
Here.
Mr. Maskell.
Here.
Mayor Davis.
Here.
We have one ordinance for a public hearing today, Ordinance 2020-10, an ordinance of the Borough of Beach Haven authorizing a financial agreement pursuant to the 5-year exemption and abatement law. This ordinance pertains to the Victoria Rose project, and we do have Emily Gibbons on the call. Emily, was there anything you needed to provide to summarize before we open the floor to the public on this ordinance?
Just that this is part of the redevelopment project for Victoria Rose. It was negotiated as part of the redevelopment agreement that was entered into, and it is the 5-year abatement with the 0% of taxes on the improved value. The first year, 20, 40, 60, and 80% in years 2 through 5, and then full taxes will be paid in year 6.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions before we open the floor?
No.
Okay. At this time, we'll open the floor to any member of the public that would like to speak to this ordinance, and only this ordinance right now. If you would like to make a comment, you can raise your electronic hand at the bottom or top of your screen. It will show up on my screen and I can unmute you to hear your comment. I see a hand up from Andrea Jones. Andrea, are you looking to speak to this ordinance?
No, I'm not. Sorry, I forgot to take it down.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any member of the public looking to speak to this ordinance?
I don't have the option to raise my hand.
If you're unable to raise your hand, you can just unmute yourself and state your name. I know some of you are on the call for the first time.
Okay.
Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the floor. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second, please.
Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller.
Yes.
Mr. Lynch.
Yes.
Mr. Maskell.
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, give me just a second. Why did it not change? No, I don't know. Okay. All matters listed under item consent agenda are considered to be routine by the municipal council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items requiring expenditure are supported by a certification of availability of funds, and any items requiring expenditure are and any items requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Resolution 115 is returning piling bonds. Resolution 120 is approving application for a fireworks display on July 4th in the area of Taylor Avenue. I did send all of the paperwork from the Red, White, and Blue Committee to our insurance company. Everything appears to be in order. So that is approved on the insurance end. And finally, Resolution 121, approving an additional resident request handicap parking space. Any member of council wish to remove any of those for discussion separately?
Sherry, can I just ask a question? Who is the Red, White, and Blue Committee?
Well, I deal mainly with Carolyn Kasunich at Bay Village, and it's
Okay.
a nonprofit. It's a group of businesses that get together.
Okay, so it's the same as it's the same as the previous years.
Yes. All right. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to
So
approve.
moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Val Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Maskell,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
All right. Bruce, I don't see this issue being resolved right now during this meeting, unfortunately. We did upgrade, but unfortunately they're not answering at Zoom and our account hasn't been upgraded, so I'm not sure how you want to handle it, but we have a second meeting here of 100 participants.
Why don't we take a short recess, maybe 5 minutes? And I'll give you a call and then we can reconvene.
Okay. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Motion.
We'll reconvene
Okay.
at 4:16. We'll reconvene at around 4:21.
Do we need to make a motion for recess?
Yeah, I think so, right? Motion for recess. I move to recess.
Approved.
Second.
All in
It
favor?
was moved and seconded. All.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, just for the benefit of the public, Sherry, we're still recording, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm muted.
Sherry's muted, but she indicated that we are on the record as being recorded. Just for the benefit of the public and for the record, during the recess, I did speak with one of Mr. Burris's attorneys to talk about a plan moving forward for tonight. That was a short conversation. Subsequent to that, I'm recommending to the governing body a brief executive session just to discuss the legal options and give my recommendation as attorney-client communication related to how to proceed in this matter. So what's been happening in the intervening time is that since we did not have a conference call set up, we've been working on a call-in number and getting all the council persons on a separate conference call for executive session, but no substantive discussion has occurred. It simply has been setting up that call. So right now, what I'm going to ask to be in order is a motion to go into executive session to discuss attorney-client communication relating to this application and how it's going to proceed.
I'd like to make that motion, Bruce.
Okay, so it's moved by Councilman Maskell. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Was that Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Okay, Councilman Lynch seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we anticipate that the executive session will last hopefully 10 minutes or less, and we will take action after. Okay, Sherry, we're ready to proceed from the legal end if you are.
All right. I have Nancy. Nancy, you there?
I am here, yep.
All right. What's the process, Bruce?
Oh, okay. So first, I just want to thank the members of the public for being patient while we work this out. Unfortunately, the legal process and due process takes longer and is frustrating, but you know, try spending 4 hours in Superior Court and seeing a judge for 5 minutes. I mean, unfortunately, that's the nature of it, but I do appreciate everyone, and I know the governing body does, coming out to speak about this, and thank you for your patience, and also for the governing body as well. Mr. Burris and the other applicants, I spoke with their counsel a few times during the recess and the executive session. They had made a request to adjourn this while we work out the technical issues and allow their experts and anyone else in support who was unable to come to the first meeting to speak to the governing body about this. I talked to the governing body in executive session about the legal options and risks, et cetera, with proceeding or not proceeding, adjourning it, et cetera. And I believe there would be the consensus, which the governing body will consider a motion to adjourn this to June 8th, its next council meeting, for full consideration. Will come up next, but I did speak to Mr. Burris's attorney, Mr. Flower, and he would just like to make one comment to the governing body about the timing of it before we move forward.
We're still in executive session, right, Bruce?
So we're out in public now.
Okay,
You know,
so
most governing bodies do take a motion to come out of executive session.
Yeah.
I'm out on a limb, and I have the opinion that I don't think you need that motion. I think now you're back in public, but if the governing body is used to doing that, please go ahead, and if you want.
No, it's fine. I was just
Okay.
wanted to.
Yeah, we are
sure
back in executive session now.
Following the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Regular session we're in.
Yeah, I'm sorry, regular session. Thanks, Sherry.
You want?
Do we need a motion to go into?
No. No.
No, we're back in public session now. So if it's okay with the mayor, Mr. Flower would like to talk about the timing of the meeting. I don't mean to put you on the spot, Mr. Flower, but just based on what we talked, and then the governing body will consider the motion to adjourn this to its next meeting.
All right, Mr. Flower has to unmute himself. Go ahead.
This is Willis Flower. I represent Bird and Betty's, along with my co-counsel, Scott Silver. I concur with the statement your solicitor just put on the record. We had asked for a continuance because we were ready to go today with experts and a number of people who were in support of our application. My co-counsel couldn't get on the line. Another attorney we wanted to have involved in this to consult with couldn't get on the line. One of our experts had a problem getting on the line. So our concern is that we anticipate that the governor is going to move very quickly to reopen, or at least partially reopen, start to relax the restrictions on restaurants. And we did ask for an adjournment, and we appreciate the council acceding to that request. But that being said, this is a short season. It's not going to be a good season, and time is really of the essence. So if it's humanly possible to get this thing set up, cure the technical difficulties, and proceed any sooner than the 8th, that's our request to the council.
Okay, I mean, the council, you can't proceed. You have at least 48 hours notice for a special meeting under the Open Public Meetings Act. So other than that,
understood.
Yeah, it's in the council's pleasure to adjourn this to the 8th or some other time. So right now in order would be a motion to adjourn this to either the 8th or some other time, whoever wants to make that motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr.
What are we
Lynch,
motioning to?
Mr. Lynch, motion to adjourn the public hearing until which date? The 8th?
I'm suspecting the 8th.
The 8th, okay. So the motion to the 8th, there was a second by
Dan Allen.
Mr. Allen, second to the 8th.
I thought that was a flexible time frame when I seconded that. I understand their concerns. If they left earlier, I'd like to give them the opportunity, as Mr. Flowers said, to be ready to go. Is there a different time?
We'd have to give at least 48 hours notice, so it's probably tough to have a meeting by Monday. I don't know what the governing body's availability is. If you want to have it sooner, I mean, that's your prerogative. Is just to have the special meeting for this this issue.
I'm going to have a problem next week because I have Sally's doctor's meetings on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. off the island, so that's going to scramble me.
Okay. Monday we have land use. Nancy and I will have another meeting we have to attend.
Okay. So that leaves Tuesday. You'd have to get the notice out tomorrow to the paper.
Or we just leave it at the 8th.
I have a motion on
No,
the
there's a
table.
motion for the 8th. Is there a second for the 8th?
I thought we had a second on that.
No,
I thought
Dan.
Dan,
Dan
was a
was
second.
not technically a second on the 8th.
Chuck will second.
Okay. Any discussion?
So we have
I don't mind holding the meeting sooner, but I think we need to know what the availability is of the council, and I think we need enough time to notify people.
I think we should, the 8th is next
The 8th is a week from Monday.
week from Monday. If we approve or deny on Monday, how quick is the approval? How quick can they move on that if we decide to go that way? Is it immediate, or do they have to wait? Do they need further approval?
Bruce, unmute yourself.
This is Willis Flower. We don't believe we need any other approval.
Bruce, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes.
Dan asked how quickly, if they're given approval, it would go into effect.
Would go into effect? I
Immediately?
apologize. Yeah.
Immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I had a motion and a second on the table. Am I supposed to roll call or what?
Yes.
For June 8th, Dan Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller,
Yes.
Mr. Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Maskell,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes.
June 8th.
And I would just like to make note of what was brought up in executive session, that
Be careful. We can't really talk about what we talked about in executive session.
Okay,
Sorry, Councilman Maskell.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we have the information that they want to present before us, before we.
Right.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I had one other item on the agenda. I have a minutes from the April 30th agenda meeting. Did you all have a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I have a bill list today in the amount of $584,181.10. Have you had a chance to review the bills?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a motion to approve the bills.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Baumiller,
Yes.
Mr. Lynch,
Yes.
Mr. Maskell,
Yes.
Mayor Davis. At this time, we can open the floor for public comment. The public can raise your electronic hand and speak on any topic at this time. Raise your electronic hand and I will call on you, unmute you, and you can state your name and address for the record.
Sherry, while the public's free to talk on any topic possible, I just want to remind everyone that the public hearing for this application will be at the next meeting. So just keep that in mind with your comments.
Thank you. Anne Marie, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Anne Marie Yule, 309 Essex Avenue, Beach Haven.
Go ahead.
I'm speaking directly about Governor Murphy's executive order number 148, which on May 22nd actually increased outdoor gatherings from 10 to 25 people. When I read through the executive order, it actually includes county and municipal parks. With that in mind, with the proper social distancing and all the proper procedures in place, I think that the town should consider opening up both tennis and pickleball to operate under those guidelines. I also want to mention that I did some research, and if you go onto the Margate, New Jersey City page, they have a recreation announcement that pickleball is now starting to be played on June 1st. So I know that there's a lot of information, and as we move into the opening phases, I know that we have to be very careful, but I really would like the town to consider the executive order and all of the other examples we have, and begin to think about opening up both pickleball and tennis. Thank you.
That executive order actually opened county and state, not county and local.
Okay, I had down county and municipal parks. So are they not considered municipal parks?
No.
Okay.
County and state.
So may I ask when we are projecting to open up pickleball and tennis?
When the governor will permit organized sports, recreation, recreational facilities, those kinds of things. And we do have our emergency management on the line. They make the final determination, so they can address that as well. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Thank you.
Yep. Go ahead, Margaret. Can you unmute? There you go. State your name and address for the record.
Margaret Damiani, 112 West Avenue.
Okay.
So I want to know the plan for Burris and Magaziners for next week, June 8th. Is that the plan for Bird and Betty's outdoor dining, or has that plan changed? Because the last meeting we had, it was all about Bird and Betty's and outdoor dining. And are we going to be able to see any site plan? Because I feel that things are being changed frequently and we're not being notified.
Bruce?
The application is available in the clerk's office. The application was to expand southerly into Dock Road. There have been other proposals, which I've spoken with council about. My representation to them was that the application before the governing body is the one that was submitted, the one for which publication was made, the one that's been available in the clerk's office. I don't want to put words in council's mouth. That I never want to try to do that. The applicant took the position to me that they can amend the application as it's their application, and they could amend their proposal, which they could present whatever they want to the governing body. My advice to the governing body is going to be that the application to submit, which was submitted, which they're voting on, is the one that request for the expansion into Dock Road.
Of Bird and Betty's, because she told
me
Bird and Betty's. It was only Bird and Betty's. That's the only one we're talking about.
It was, yeah, Bird and Betty. It's only Bird and Betty's. I know there's been some discussion about Parker's. I've heard some discussion about that. That's not a licensed establishment. That's not before us. That this is not the forum for that.
So I just want to make sure that the one business that's applied for this expansion into closed Dock Road is only going to be Bird and Betty's.
Yes, this is about Bird and Betty's. It's technically an application for a place-to-place transfer which is an expansion of the liquor license for Bird and Betty's as the licensed establishment. Correct.
So it's for outdoor dining and closing Dock Road, and for the transfer of the liquor license to Parker's.
No, it's not a transfer to Parker's. That's just the mechanism, the legal mechanism by which this happens. It's called a place-to-place transfer, but it's not a transfer to Parker's at all. I just clarify that for the record.
So they want to close the road and have drinking in the street.
They want to expand the boundaries of the liquor license into a portion of Dock Road. That is what the application is.
And close Dock Road. Okay, I just want to make sure exactly what they're asking for. So they're asking to shut down Dock Road for their sole business so that they can serve liquor in the street. Okay, I just wanted to clarify exactly what they're looking to do.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Tony Gambles.
State your name and address. Tony Gambles, 1 Marine Street, Beach Haven. My question is this. You said that the site plan is in the clerk's office. Is the clerk's office open to see that?
Yes, if you come to the lobby, I'll bring it down for you.
And you'll bring it down. And again, so the liquor license, people will be able to drink in the street in public property? Is that what we're asking for?
That is what the application asks for, yes.
So therefore, why were people stopped and reprimanded for having a drink on the beach? Because that too is public property. So is this going to be setting a precedent?
The beach is not a licensed area. There is precedent other places in the state for similar things to expand liquor licenses into public property. So there's two different issues here. There's the expansion of the license, and then separate, but not necessarily concurrent with that, is the right to use the actual property. That would be a separate legal issue that the borough would have to work out if the borough approves the expansion.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of go hand in hand. But to answer your specific question, it is not a precedent setting for drinking on the beach. Drinking in public, walking down the street drinking is prohibited. This would be an expansion of a liquor licensed area.
So now, just another question. I know that I'm being sarcastic because,
okay.
Anyhow, my other question is, if other businesses who have liquor licenses wish to bring their license, expand their license to the street, to the sidewalk, how doesn't this set a precedence in Beach Haven?
Any liquor license establishment can make any application they want under ABC regulations for an extension of premises or an expansion of premises. The governing body, in my opinion, would not be legally bound to, because they did it for one, they do it for everyone else. Every case is fact sensitive depending on the circumstances, which include the locality, the amount of capacity of the business. There's several factors. It's really a case by case totality of the circumstances and analysis of every application.
I understand, but I think we need equity and equality for all businesses in Beach Haven. And that's my opinion. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Padula.
Tony. Steve Beninati, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Steve Beninati, 212 Center Street. My wife and I own the Gables. I'd just like clarification, please, on the issue of the 3 parking spaces that restaurants may use in front of the facilities for pickup, since we're doing this curbside catering. With respect to the 3 spaces, may we keep those spaces blocked 24/7 while we're operating, or do we have to only use those spaces during the operating hours of the pickup?
Once the spot is painted and signed as a curbside pickup 15-minute only, that is what it's for during the emergency time.
Did you say painted?
Yes. If you are approved, you made application. Once you are approved for a curbside pickup designation, the borough will provide a stenciled logo on the space, and you will be provided a logo to create signage. Once it's painted for 15-minute curbside pickup, that's what it is until the end of this emergency.
Okay, I wasn't aware that there was an application process. So I can find an application online on the borough's website?
You already submitted one.
Okay, good. So then, great. So the fact of the matter is that if I have a sign, which is out in the street in a planter, attempting to keep the 3 spaces available, is that sufficient?
No, you can't block the spaces. Your signage needs to be on the curb, indicating that the sign is a curbside pickup, 15-minute parking only. And that's what it's for. And if someone's there for more than 15 minutes, then the police will be your enforcement agent.
Okay, so not to belabor the subject, but the point of the matter is that the spaces cannot be left vacant, is what you're saying? They're open to the general public, and then so be it if someone parks there and goes to the beach.
They cannot park there for more than 15 minutes, period.
Okay, so we'll wait for the signage, I guess.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Margaret, let me see if there's anyone else in the public that would like to speak first, since you already had a turn, okay? Deb Whitcraft, go ahead, state your name and address.
528 Dock Road, Beach Haven.
Go ahead.
Sherry, what I want to know is, I think I've seen 3 different proposals for the closure or the partial closure of Dock Road. Are there any other proposals for the use of Dock Road by any other business establishment besides Bird and Betty's?
Well, that's a hard question to answer. One application for a place-to-place application was filed, and that is what I presented to the governing body and what I forwarded to the division of ABC. I've seen other plans floating around, but I was not notified of an amendment, and I did not send an alternate plan to the division of ABC. So what's still in front of me is an application to expand Bird and Betty's onto Dock Road.
Well, I was given a plan to expand the use of Dock Road for the adjoining restaurant at Parker's. So
well, then that wouldn't require a liquor license.
Well, no, it doesn't require the expansion, but if you expand one restaurant to the north and another restaurant to the south, it seems to me that you're using one narrow, heavily frequented street for 2 different businesses, which in my estimate creates a horrific public safety nightmare. So if there's an intent to use all of Dock Road for 2 different businesses, one of which has a liquor license and one that does not, I see a serious problem here that I think our police, fire, first aid, emergency management, I think everyone needs to be aware of this before the June 8th meeting.
Thank you. Anything else, Deb?
No, that's just it. I just wish that we would be more transparent with what exactly is going on here, because this is just such a serious, seriously busy intersection. And those of us who live here, who operate businesses like Polly's Dock, the Maritime Museum, I think we need to be involved in any talks about closing a major thoroughfare in the borough of Beach Haven. So I would just ask that we be informed of what is being proposed.
Okay.
I would just remind the public again that the public hearing on this matter was adjourned to the 8th. Obviously, this is public comment and you have the right to speak on any matter whatsoever, but I just do want to remind the public of that.
Is there any other member of the public that would like to speak before I entertain taking a second hearing a participant for the second time? There's an electronic ability to raise your hand. If you can just go to your participants and click that. I know this is the first time using Zoom for some of you, even if you have to wave like that so I can see you. Theodora Lambert, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Theodora Lambert, 516 North Atlantic. I don't know if many of you are familiar with Hoboken, New Jersey. It's right across the river from New York City, but it does have a lot of similarities to Beach Haven. It's a 1 mile square town. They've got a very busy main street called Washington Avenue.
I lived there for 13 years. So
you're really familiar with it, Bruce. Perfect.
Yes.
So you know that Washington Avenue has at least 90% small mom and pop restaurants, bars, and retail space. I urge anybody who's interested in this topic to go on to HobokenNewJersey.gov and see what their plan is, because they are being extremely business friendly. They are actually taking parking off the street, which, Bruce, you know what a premium that is. Restaurants are sitting outside. Stores can put their things on the sidewalk. Storefronts are sharing spaces. They're doing everything they possibly can for their business to succeed during this time frame. and they're actually waiving their 2020 sidewalk cafe application fee. So just something to look into and see how other towns are handling, the very same situation we're all in. Thank you.
Thank you. Kitty Snyder, state your name and address for the record.
120 Berkeley, Beach Haven.
Go ahead.
So after hearing Theodora speak, I just have to say one thing, and that is so interesting, Theodora, that you are mentioning Hoboken, which is absolutely nothing like Beach Haven. Although I love Hoboken, but that you're promoting a business-friendly town, which usually you guys are against everything. So, hey, good for you. I'm happy to hear that. It's a move in the right direction. That being said, knowing Beach Haven, 2 degrees of separation today, I heard through the Coconut Telegraph that there's a plan, an option for possibly a different having Bird and Betty's have the parking, municipal parking to the west of Bird and Betty's. And I would just like to say that I'm really in favor of that. I think it's really important, more important than ever, that a community supports each other during this difficult time. I respect the concerns of the police department, the fire department, and the EMS. And I think that moving forward and moving outside, dining for the Tide Table group to the public parking in front of Bird and Betty's towards the bay on the west side is a good compromise and meets the needs of the groups that have requested it. I wish them all the best for a successful summer. And, I think that that's a reasonable compromise. So hopefully that is what you were discussing in executive session, and hopefully they change their mind on the location, because then they get what they want and no one's closing down a road, and hopefully they'll serve the purpose. I also wonder if when all the businesses are asking for these permits, especially with a liquor license, as much as I'm in favor of it this summer, I think we have to think outside the box, and it's a wonderful idea for one summer. Is it important for these businesses to sign something saying that they understand that it's only for 6 months only, and just in case something comes back years down the road about a liquor license? Anyway, thank you. That's it. Thanks for all you do.
Steve Steiner. You gotta unmute you here.
There we go. This is to the expediency issue that.
Address for the record, please.
Oh, sorry, Steve Steiner, 521 Amber Street. This is to the expediency question that was asked for by Mr. Willis, I believe. Unfortunately, when the motion came up that it was supposed to be the 8th, and then it was seconded, there could have been a substitute motion at that point, and then the substitute motion could have been seconded, and you could have actually voted that up, and then that becomes the main motion, and then the substitute motion being for an earlier date. I heard Tuesday, somebody said, could have actually been the date, but it seemed like that was cumbersome. You can still do it now if the council chooses to. If anyone wants to make a motion to rescind that first motion to have it be the 8th, and then once there is no motion for the 8th, someone then has to make a motion to make it be what somebody said Tuesday, and that at least exceeds to the wish of the lawyer and the Tide Table group to have this heard at an earlier date. It's a little cumbersome, but there still is a mechanism to do it before this meeting is over, and that's Robert's rule. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Any other member of the public like to speak to this before we go back to Margaret? Go ahead, Margaret. State your name and address.
Margaret Damiani, 112 West Avenue, Beach Haven. So I want to thank Kitty for her comments. The Bird and Betty's has plenty of room within their own property lines to expand and have plenty of outdoor seating without having to close Dock Road down, because obviously I'm the business that's going to be completely detriment to me. I will have no access to the patrons from the public parking. They'll all be diverted to Bird and Betty's or Parker's Garage, and that nobody will come around the corner to me. But if this was allowed to go through and they're allowed to have a roadway, then I would suggest that I would be entitled to have the end of Center Street for Polly's Dock Dining, and I would be able to take over that area if they're allowed to have a road. If maybe I could apply for a road also, since that's if the borough is giving out roadways to have extra dining area. Just wondering if that's an option for all the restaurants in town and anybody experiencing, because we're all experiencing this pandemic and the issues of this. Is that an option for everybody? All the businesses in town, we can all take over a part of a road? Just curious.
Point taken.
I recommend not commenting on that. And I would just like to say again that the public hearing on the application is on the 8th. So I don't want to say these comments are not well received, but they're more appropriately made during the public hearing for the application.
Is there any other member of the public that would like to speak during this particular public comment session on any other topic? I do not see any. At this time, I'll close the floor and ask for final comments from the council.
I'll make a final comment. I'll be the first person. This is Nancy. I just want to thank everybody for their cooperation through these difficult times. This has been very tough for all of us. I want to say that in Beach Haven, we're really trying to follow the law. I'm doing everything in my power to try to lobby the governor, and I've talked to our state assemblywoman and senator to see if we could move a little faster on letting businesses open. It isn't just the restaurants. There's so many people in town that's livelihoods depend on their small businesses. We all think it's unfair. We think there's safe ways to let people shop. But we are trying to follow the rule of the governor and I've been advised by people much higher up in authority than me that we should do that. I know it's frustrating not being able to play pickleball and tennis right now. I know that private clubs can open up their courts, but it very specifically says that we can't. I'm hoping that the governor quickly reverses that. We do have people that preside at the courts that can make sure that people are being safe and behaving in a safe way on the courts. So I'm hoping that we can move forward as possible to let everybody have fun and be safe and make money. And I want to thank our emergency team. Truly, they've been working 24/7. They're really on top of this. I'm constantly calling and asking them questions and to explain things because it is confusing because you're hearing about other towns doing different things that we can't do. In general, we are following the law in Beach Haven. And I want to thank all our people that live here in Beach Haven for being so cooperative. They really have been. And trying to keep safe and keep this safe. And as I say, as an epidemiologist, this is a serious disease. We're lucky that we've had very low number of cases, but that could possibly change. So I really recommend that we be as careful as possible and continue being careful. Thank you.
Tom Lynch.
I'm going to echo what Nancy just said, but I'm also going to tell everybody to be very careful that this virus is still with us. And even though we're opening up things as we go along, slower than some people would like, we have to be very, very careful because this virus can pick up again. And if it does, it's going to really, really hit us at a very bad time. But I just want everybody to be very careful and make sure that they wear their masks and make sure that they're aware that this virus is still with us. It's not gone, and by any means, or any stretch of the imagination. So thank you, everybody.
Dan Allen?
Yeah, I'd like to just say that it was kind of nice to see people in town again over the weekend. You know, during all this, you know, this scary time that we're living in right now, it was nice to see people out and about, abiding by social distancing and everybody seemed, it was a refreshing change from the dark and dreary days of staring at your walls in your house. And I just hope that they can continue this summer and that, you know, everything stays safe and everyone stays healthy. And that the powers that be in emergency management, the police department, fire, and EMS, they're all working very hard to make sure that we're all safe, and we all owe them a debt of gratitude. And that's about all I have for this one.
Thank you. Jamie Baumiller.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, to echo what Jan said, it was wonderful to see everyone here this past weekend, including my neighbors. I think that everybody was pretty responsible and trying to kind of acclimate to this new normal, but everything seemed to be pretty peaceful this past weekend. So thank you for that. Thank you for everyone joining the meeting. There has been an increase in attendance with these Zoom meetings. We're trying to get used to this as best as possible. So we are doing our best on every end. And of course, thank you to, you know, our first responders, our fire and our police for keeping us safe as well. And that's all I have.
Chuck Maskell. Did I lose him? I don't see him.
He might have got, you know, I got dropped out, so that just happens. I want to say one more thing. I hate to prolong this, but we're trying to do something called Yell Across Beach Haven, like 5 after 5 every day. Everybody gets out on their porch or their sidewalk and claps or sings or dances or jumps up and down to create some connectivity to each other. Bonnie Wells and a group of her people that know a lot about making videos and getting things up on Facebook have put together a little video that should be on our Visit Beach Haven site, and which sort of promotes us and talks about this. And I know Jamie's daughter's in it, and a number of people you see in this video. So I urge you to look at that, and let's get out and share 5 after 5 every day. We will survive. Beach Haven is going to come back stronger than ever. That's the message, and let's get that message out to everybody. Thanks.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.